conversations with motivated people for the purpose of motivating people. I'm here with Gus, and you're in marketing, correct?
Yeah. What's going on, everyone? How's everyone doing?
Now, let me ask you, what is it that you love about what you do?
You know what? I love connecting people to the right stories, things that are meaningful to them. And, on the back end of it, they make a decision whether or not they buy our products. But it's about helping people build their story with some of the products and brands that I've worked with.
Okay, okay. And so how long have you been doing it for?
So it's interesting that you're asking a question. Marketing is not what I went to school for. I started off as an industrial engineer, and over time I figured, hey, look, I want to progress my career. I want to get into more creative space, be more strategic. I was looking for something else that moved quicker, and so I got into consumer packaged goods,
Mm-hmm.
and spent the last 23 years working with brands like H-E-B, Mission Foods, Pepsi, Mountain Dew.
Hmm.
I sat on brand Lay's at Frito-Lay doing innovation.
Hmm.
And then the last couple of years, 4 years with Coca-Cola, and a year and a half helping a small startup scale up in
That's
the beverage
good.
space. And now I'm working with a media agency,
Mm-hmm.
basically taking all these experiences from being on the client side and helping them scale up their business.
Interesting, interesting. And how do you think that the companies that you work with have benefited from, everything that you've done with the company?
Yeah, I think they've benefited in a couple of areas. One is obviously the marketing and the revenue we drove for those companies and the awareness that we built for those brands, and even some of the innovation that we developed. All of that has benefited the organizations. But where my focus has always been is how do you build culture? And
Okay.
how do you build trust with an organization? Because if you can get people to get behind an idea, a story, they'll do great things with it.
Okay.
And so a lot of my time at all of these companies have been about how do you elevate those people in the company to do great things.
So what are some of the methods that you used?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. One of them is I call it the trust matrix, and it's this idea that no matter what you do, because in marketing you're in sales,
Yeah.
right? It's all about a relationship business with the consumer and the brand. So I look at it in a couple of ways. If you look at a matrix, one aspect of it is all about warmth.
Okay.
The X and the Y is about your capability, and from a technical standpoint. What are those things that you know about the business, right?
Okay.
And my focus has always been to coach people to be very warm, but also have a high level of capability and subject matter expertise.
Okay.
And that's the sweet spot. And sometimes if you're very warm, what ends up happening is you can build a really good rapport with people, build a good rapport with consumers, but then there's always this question, well, what does this all mean at the end of the day?
Mm-hmm.
But if you've got high capacity and high aptitude in all the work that you do, then you can be very technical. So it's really important to be balanced, to be, hey, I'm going to build trust with you through warmth, but I'm also going to show that I've got the chops for the work that we're going to do together.
Huh. I see.
Yeah.
Now, doing that and building that warmth as you describe it, do you tend to get people who try to take advantage of you, as if they maybe think that they can walk all over you? Or,
No, part of relationship building is building the cues of how you want the people across the table to treat you.
okay.
So, and part of that is your own body language. If you're going to kind of sit back, slouch, take up small space and what have you, then you're kind of cueing the people to treat you that way as well.
Okay.
And so it's really important that you have a conscious perspective on how your body language triggers people to treat you.
Interesting. I never thought about that.
Yeah, it's this is the psychology that's just evolved over hundreds and hundreds and thousands of years of evolution. Is that there's certain things that you might do to cue how others may treat you.
Mm-hmm.
So body language, how you speak, how you project your voice.
Like the confidence that you present.
That's right.
It demands people to respect you for it.
Or I would say, just a slight edit on it. It's less about demanding the respect, as much as earning it as well.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's important for there to be kind of this banter and this good dialogue between you and the other person.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's part of the warmth, and you can create boundaries in that warmth as well.
Okay.
That there's certain areas that I'm not going to let you trample on, or I hear what you're saying and I respect your opinion, but that's not where we're going to go.
Mm.
So there's a way to kind of still be a very warm person, but also build some boundaries.
Now, throughout the years of you doing your job, have you ever had to train people to do your job?
I have.
Okay.
But I guess what's your question to follow up on that?
Well, I guess what I'm getting at is like me being in sales and working with people who either knew a little bit about sales, nothing at all about sales, or they knew a lot about sales.
That's right.
I had to teach and train people and develop them into being sort of a replacement for me so that they could be able to teach and train individuals as well.
Yeah.
Have you ever had to do that, or has your job position been more situated to where as though like you can't move up, because if you do, then either you move up or either you move out, or when you have somebody replace you, they just completely replace you.
It's these jobs and these kind of careers that I've been in, it is critical to help cultivate talent. That's part of the promise that you're making to some of these organizations, is that not only are you going to help them grow their business,
Mm-hmm.
but especially as you get into more executive roles, you're going to help grow the people as well, right?
Okay.
And you may have heard this from time to time, where the best leaders are the ones that hire smarter people than they are.
I've heard that.
And that requires little ego. Those leaders that have very high ego, that it's about me, and I want to showcase the value I'm bringing, and it's I.
It's fun. I didn't mean to cut you off. I was going to say,
please go.
it's funny that you say that. I think of a lot of people that I've worked with, and they may have been training someone that was better than them, whether it be at sales, whether it be at training, whether it be at teaching, and the ones that didn't have a jealousy towards that individual, they've always gone and thrived.
That's right.
And them thriving help that individual thrive. So let's say I'm training you and I'm thinking, well, wow, this guy's really outdoing me in sales. Instead of getting jealous at that, I'm happy for it. And I'll even put you in the front. So when people see it, they be like, well, who's your trainer? And then it'll look at me anyway. And I feel like there's so many individuals that want to give credit to themselves for their team doing well, but then I feel like the smarter individuals are the ones that give credit to their team for their team doing well.
And look, I've been in situations where I've walked away and someone has said, hey, that was a really great job. You guys built an amazing strategy. You did whatever you did for the company.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a way to handle that. You say thank you to begin, and then, because you've got to give some credit to yourself, but then quickly follow it up with thank you, but I've got an amazing team that are really the minds behind what we delivered. And call out their names and give some credit, because here's the reality: as you move up in organizations and become more senior, it is less about getting credit for yourself and giving the credit to your team, and more about taking the hits when things don't go well.
Yeah.
And being responsible for that.
Yeah. I feel like that's another important factor when it comes to training people. When you're training an individual and they mess up, you taking the responsibility for it, because you're the one that trained them in the first place.
That's right.
And I feel like a lot of people are quick to point the finger in many different aspects of life, instead of looking at themselves and saying, hey, I'm the reasons why this situation happened.
That's right.
And when you're leading a group of people, you got to say that. A lot of people don't want to even admit that to themselves. I know that there have been times that I didn't want to admit it to myself, but I had to, because I had to recognize that this person isn't doing well because of me. So I had a guy that I was training in sales, and he was doing well. So I went to call another manager. I said, hey, this guy's not really doing well. Like, what's going on? And then so the first question that the manager asked me is, he says, well, what have you been doing? How has your sales been?
Yeah.
And I tell him, and he says, listen, I mean, and for someone that would have been newly in my position, that would have been okay, right?
That's right.
But he says, you got to do better than that. He says, this guy is only going to do 80% of what you're doing anyway. And so the only way that I actually helped that guy improve was by improving myself.
That's right.
And I feel like when we improve ourselves, we can help improve the people that are around us. It sounds corny,
No, it's
but
not
I feel like it actually is what helped him get better.
But these roles as leaders in companies and teams and what have you, have got to be about how you elevate other people. That's the only way you can make progress, and that's really a great way to also learn about yourself. You know, where are the areas that my pencil isn't all that sharp that I need to improve because the team has a different need. I will tell you, going back to the original question around training teams. You know, whether you're in marketing and sales and finance, in strategy, in innovation, there's one key tenet that everyone needs to learn, and that is how to tell stories.
Okay.
Because in presentations, if you're making a deck for somebody, you can throw all kinds of great insights up on the presentation. But what really gets people to buy into the idea is the individual and the story that they're telling. You know, Simon Sinek, a great futurist and cultivator of companies, organizations, and ideas.
Yeah, our company would listen to him like often. Yeah.
There you go. One of the things in one of his very, very early TED Talks was about people by the why. Right? You know, you can serve up features and benefits and insights and numbers and statistics and what have you. But at the end of the day, the human mind wants to understand, why is it that I should pick up something? Tell me the story. And if you can tell them the story in a very pithy, clean way that they can like relate to it, you win them over. And that's, even if you're an accountant and you're trying to tell people, you know, here's the story of the numbers and how we performed this year. The storytelling is everything in every role you're in.
So how can I ask this question? Did you have any trouble with that in the beginning, as far as the ability to get your point across by telling a story? And if you did, then how did you get better at it?
So I'm dyslexic, but not dyslexic in a way where like people flip their B's and their D's when they're writing things. For me, it's about concepts and ideas. Sometimes they move forward or backward in time in my head. So as I'm thinking about an idea, it starts to pinball. I call it a pinball effect. The idea is kind of jumping around.
Okay.
If I'm having a conversation with someone back early in my career, it was difficult because I was trying to formulate a thought, but all of these ideas are kind of jumping around in my head. And over time, I learned, you know, that frameworks would help me in how to articulate a story. And it began with a really simple framework.
Frameworks?
Yeah. So frameworks are basically ways to cluster ideas in a way that you can then articulate them back to people, either visually, but they make sense. So for example, this was a very simple framework that really kind of kicked this off and helped me evolve my storytelling. Situation, action, result.
Okay.
Whenever I'm sitting in front of any executive or client or customer, I would say, here's the situation. You know, consumers are less apt to buy our products because they're aging out of the category and they're looking for more natural beverages.
Okay.
Situation. And it's typically insights led. You know, maybe there's a statistic you'll throw out there. You know, 80% of consumers are looking for natural beverages. But then you get to the action. The action is, and we believe we can target this consumer with this type of media or this type of messaging or these types of flavors in the product. And then the result is 2x growth next year, or we're going to drive more impressions with this consumer, or we're going to drive loyalty with X consumer. And so situation, action, result help me really take all these ideas and formulate a very concise thought process where I could tell as part of a story.
I like that. I think that's extremely interesting and even, helpful for me as well. As I'm listening to you, I'm thinking, like that can help a lot of people if they've struggled with that.
That's right.
Now, how long did it take you to develop that to the point where it became like muscle memory, whereas though you were just doing it naturally and you found yourself just doing it?
It's funny you asked that question. I had a coach, so I played high school football, parochial football, which is very different than playing public school football.
Okay.
But I had this coach. His name is Isaiah Galladay.
Okay.
Amazing human being. And he would always tell me, practice how you play. And to answer your question, it is really about just practicing this kind of framework. And over time, it becomes more natural. The more you do it, the more natural it becomes in your storytelling.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that makes sense. How long did it ultimately take you, though?
Well, for me, it was a little different, right? With being dyslexic, it takes more time for some things to stick.
Okay.
And so we were talking about over the course of years, like, continuing to refine it in a way that made sense for me.
Mm-hmm.
But there are other people that could pick it up much quicker, right? And start applying it in the work that they do. And
so it sounds like everybody has a different type of time frame.
Yeah, the learning curve will vary depending on people.
Yeah, that's really interesting. A lot of these concepts I actually never even thought of. Sometimes you go with the flow with what you're doing, and then you wind up spinning your wheels and not knowing how to actually pinpoint how to fix it. Our best method for fixing things in that aspect has been networking. So, have you used networking to your advantage when it comes to everything with your business?
Networking is everything, right? It's about, we all are a brand in and of ourselves, right? There's a purpose behind us. We believe something. People know us for something. That is the essence of being a brand and how we position ourselves to people. And so that brand needs to, it's a beautiful gift, honestly, to have that kind of brand for ourselves, and it needs to be shared. And I think that's where the networking comes to play, finding, like-minded people to have great discussions, connect with folks that are in completely different industries that you would have never engaged with, to learn more about them and what you can do.
So you think the different industries can help too?
Oh my gosh. I mean, like, I'll give you an example. I am marketing, or my career is in marketing, but because of my networking with folks that I truly admire in the media space, I'm now working with a media agency. And outside of that, as an example, you just picked me up. I was meeting with a buddy of mine who runs a brewery here in town. And, I was helping him kind of figure out some things with another friend of his that's a film producer. And so sometimes the networking can open up just things you would have never imagined.
Avenues you never even would have gone down.
That's right.
No, that makes sense.
And it's all about having a growth mindset and saying, you know what, this might not be the thing that I do every day, but I might learn something here. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, thank you. I mean, all of that information sounds great. And, people always want to make money in everything that they do, but people don't always value or count the value of information.
Yeah.
Just like they don't always count the value of time. And I feel like these are two things that people should start to put more focus on. So thank you for all of that, and I appreciate just the conversation with you. I think it's been great.
I'll leave you with this nugget.
All right. Is it this way or?
You can pull off over here.
Okay.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. So I'll leave you with these two nuggets.
Okay.
In terms of selling, again, we all sell in anything that we do. We're selling an idea, concept, a report, a project, whatever that may be. It's important to work from a place of inspiration versus desperation.
Okay. Okay.
Sometimes we fall into this trap of like, man, we got to get it done. It's got to look really good. It's got to deliver on a promise, what have you. But if you reframe it to inspiration, like, how am I going to use this kind of work to help inspire people to do other things? It will change everything.
And when you're desperate, it comes off in all of your actions and all
That's
of your
right.
movements, and you look
Yeah.
desperate, and people can feel that
You can
desperation
feel
when you're working
the
with you.
anxiety builds up on you
Exactly.
as an individual.
So it's a slight difference. I can agree with that. With
Yeah.
excitement and with desperation, if I'm doing sales and I'm trying to sell somebody a product,
Yeah.
that I can even come off desperate, like
Yeah.
with commission cologne,
That's
or
right.
I could just be excited that I'm helping the individual out.
That's right. And to that end, the selling is less about the transaction of getting somebody to buy your product and more going back to the relationship.
The experience.
Yeah, because with that person in front of you, you want to deliver a very warm engagement so that they can feel that they can trust you, but also showcase that you have high capabilities and as whatever subject matter expertise you have. And those are the people you end up falling in love with. Man, I love working with so and so because they're really great to work with,
Mm-hmm.
and they know so much about what they do.
Mm.
And those are the places where you win from a selling perspective.
Oh, cool. Well, that was great. Well, thanks, for joining us
Yeah.
for this, and thank you all for watching. And if you have any other comments, put them down into the comments section. And in addition to that, don't forget to click on the link for the books and the coaching that is available. Everyone have a good morning, a good afternoon, and a good evening.